You think you're in control of your life, don't you? Well, that is a comforting illusion. The truth? Your reality is being shaped, every single day, by forces you don't even acknowledge and by rules you don't understand. This is Unspoken Rules. We don't do comfort here. We deal in the brutal, cold mechanics of power.
So let's just start with a question that's probably going to make you a little uncomfortable. Why is your emotional honesty, the very thing you've been told your whole life is a virtue, your single greatest strategic weakness? You've been taught to be open, to be real, to be authentic, but what if I told you that in the real game, the one being played in boardrooms, in your relationships, in every single power dynamic, your emotional transparency is a massive liability? It's like you're literally handing your enemy the keys to your own prison.
See, most people live in a state of constant emotional reaction. And what does that do? It broadcasts weakness. It signals a complete loss of control, and it creates massive strategic vulnerability. The alternative? Emotional restraint. This is what projects power. It creates uncertainty in your opponents, which makes you unreadable, unpredictable. It is the ultimate strategic advantage. The world is a chessboard. And every time you react emotionally, you're not just making a move, you're showing your opponent exactly how to checkmate you.
You have to understand this. That sigh of frustration, that flash of anger you let show, that flicker of disappointment across your face. These are not private experiences. They are public signals. They are data. And to someone who's watching closely, they are blueprints. They are detailed, intricate maps of your psychological terrain, showing them exactly where to apply pressure to make you crumble. Your emotions stop being yours the second you show them. They become weapons, and they can and will be used against you.
And that right there brings us to our first core principle, really understanding the emotional liability. We have to tear down this idea that just feeling something is harmless. Because in the architecture of power, uncontrolled emotion is the foundational weakness. It's the crack in the foundation upon which entire empires have been lost.
Look, in the world we live in now, power isn't taken by brute force anymore. Forget about swords and armies. The modern battlefield is psychological. Power is now taken through emotion, manipulation, guilt, shame, distraction. These are the new weapons. They don't need to break your body, they just need to provoke your feelings. And once they do that, you'll destroy yourself from the inside. And just like that, you become your own worst enemy, your own saboteur.
And listen, this isn't some metaphor I'm throwing at you. This is a physical battle, and it's happening inside your own skull, right now. It's time to look under the hood, to examine the brain's power struggle, the actual neurology behind all of this.
Okay, so picture this. Inside your brain, there's this constant conflict. In one corner, you've got the amygdala, your impulse engine. It's ancient, it's primal, and it's responsible for those lightning-fast reactions. Fear, aggression. It's the go signal, screaming for immediate action. And in the other corner is the prefrontal cortex, your control tower. This is the CEO of your brain. This is where higher-order functions live. Rational decision-making, social behavior, and most importantly, the power to hit the brakes on that impulse. And every single moment of your life, it's a brutal tug-of-war between these two.
So what is willpower really? Forget all the vague, moralistic definitions you've heard. Willpower is a specific neurological process. It is the act of empowering your prefrontal cortex to override the screaming signals from your amygdala. It's the conscious choice to go after long-term goals instead of falling for the siren song of immediate gratification. It is literally the biology of self-mastery, of self-dominance.
But hey, theory is useless if you can't apply it, right? So let's pivot from biology to history. Let's look at the absolute masters of this craft, the people who weaponized emotional restraint to shape the entire world.
First up, Augustus Caesar. His personal motto was festina lente. It means hasten slowly. Think about that. It's a whole philosophy built on one core idea, the rejection of impulse, the avoidance of rashness. And by projecting this unshakable calm, he pulled Rome from the absolute chaos of civil war and forged an empire that would last for centuries.
See, Augustus knew this fundamental law of power. What is freely given is always more stable than what is seized by force. So when he returned to Rome, victorious, all-powerful, what did he do? He made this elaborate show of returning power to the Senate. He acted reluctant. And this brilliant move forced the Senate to literally beg him to take control. Now, this wasn't weakness. This was pure genius. He cemented his absolute authority by appearing to be nothing more than a humble servant of the state, making his power legitimate and almost impossible to challenge.
But if you want the ultimate, almost unbelievable example of emotional dominance, we have to look to General Zhuge Liang and his legendary empty fort strategy. He was facing an army of 150,000 with just 100 soldiers. What did he do? He ordered the gates of his fortress to be thrown wide open, had his men hide, and then he sat on top of the city wall, calmly playing a lute. His opponent, a brilliant general in his own right, saw this and was absolutely certain it had to be an elaborate trap. The sheer, absolute calm projected by Zhuge Liang was so unnatural, so psychologically jarring, that it completely overrode all rational military assessment. The enemy army retreated. Power, in that moment, had nothing to do with numbers. It was about the complete and total mastery of perception.
Okay, so we've seen mastery. But what happens when that mastery just isn't there? What happens when even brilliance isn't enough because emotional discipline is missing? This brings us to the price of blindness.
Let's talk about Julius Caesar, a strategic genius, a charismatic leader, and yet his story is one of the greatest cautionary tales in history. He had fatal gaps in his emotional intelligence. First, his self-awareness, it was dangerously low. He couldn't sense how his natural urgency and decisiveness were coming across as authoritarian arrogance. His social awareness was practically non-existent. He mistook the terrified silence of the Senate for agreement, not seeing it for what it was, masked resistance. And finally, he failed to understand his role. He kept using a wartime leadership style in a time that desperately needed peace, dialogue, and reassurance. His inability to read the emotional landscape around him, well, it ultimately sealed his final outcome on the Ides of March.
All right, history and biology have given us the framework. Now it's time to forge the weapons. It's time to get tactical and talk about the modern application of these principles. Let's talk about the weapons of silence.
I'm going to give you the protocol right now. It's called tactical silence, and it is not passive. It's a weapon. Here's how it works. Step 1, an offer or a demand is made. This creates conversational momentum. Step 2, you interrupt that momentum. Not with a counteroffer, not with an argument, but with a deliberate, calm pause. A few seconds of complete silence. Step 3, you just observe. You watch as the psychological pressure, which was on you, transfers completely over to them. And step 4, you force the other party to fill that void. They will start to reevaluate, they'll clarify, and very, very often, they will concede ground without you ever having to say a single word. They start negotiating against themselves.
Think about the psychology of what's happening here. An instant answer, it feels cheap. It feels reactive. It almost feels desperate, doesn't it? But when you pause, your response, whatever it is, feels considered. It feels valuable. You instantly shift from a reactive posture to a strategic one. You are demonstrating that you, and you alone, control the pace of this interaction. You own the room by owning the silence within it.
Now, to master this game, you have to recognize the other players, especially the predators. They operate from a playbook known as the Dark Triad. You have narcissism, which is all about grandiosity and a chilling lack of empathy. You have Machiavellianism, a laser focus on manipulation and pure self-interest. And you have psychopathy, impulsivity, selfishness, and a total absence of remorse. All three share one thing: a callous, manipulative, interpersonal style. You are not learning this to become them. You are learning this to build your defenses. You need to learn these patterns, burn them into your brain, because if you don't recognize them, I guarantee you, you will become their prey.
And all of this discipline, it finds its absolute peak in leadership. In any crisis, in any moment of pure chaos, the most competent leaders are always the calmest people in the room. Why? Because they understand their primary role isn't to have all the answers, it's to absorb chaos. They take on the fear and the uncertainty as an act of service, refusing to pass that poison down to their team. Their calm becomes a shield for everyone else.
So I want you to burn this into your mind. The less you show, the more you control. When you are emotionally unreadable, you become unpredictable. And in the game of power, unpredictability is a profound threat. People will start to project their own fears, their own insecurities onto your silence. They start to fear what you might be thinking, what you might do next. You start to dominate the entire psychological space around you just by occupying it calmly.
And so here we are, at the fundamental choice. The choice this entire explainer has been leading you to. Are you going to keep being a pawn, just moved around the board by your own unchecked impulses and whatever someone else throws at you? Or are you going to finally decide to control your reality? The choice is yours, a master of your destiny or a slave to your emotions.
Because you need to be crystal clear on this.
The path to power is not some one-time event. It's a discipline. It requires daily awareness of your internal state. It demands daily restraint in the face of provocation. It is a daily, conscious refusal to hand over the keys of your mind to anyone else.
Right now, in this moment, you are at a crossroads. You can click away, go back to the world of comfortable illusions, and continue to be played by the system. Or you can make a decision. A decision to see things exactly as they are. Look, this isn't just another channel. It's a movement of the aware. So the question I have for you is simple. Are you going to keep living in ignorance, or are you going to hit that subscribe button and make a commitment to see reality as it actually is? Like this explainer as a statement that you reject emotional weakness. Comment below with your commitment to this discipline, and ring that bell to begin your training. Join the movement.